I love the way the First Gen Lounge makes me feel.
Because it creates a space where I belong, where we're able to create community.
The fact that it's a community.
It's a safe place.
It also gives me a place to understand different perspectives.
The stories of these individuals prescribe transformational perspective.
I receive encouragement, enlightenment, empowerment.
And also serve as a catalyst to just keep going.
Where we're able to be our true selves.
I'm allowed to be an unapologetic first gen.
And above all else, tell our story.
And every episode is unique.
I love it.
I'm your host, Dr. Eve, and I'd like to welcome you to the First Gen Lounge.
Y'all. Always, I held it out today. I was really feeling it. So glad that you are here. I want to say, as I always say to my sister, good morning and great day. Because there's always, it's always morning somewhere and it's always a great day. Yes, if you choose to make it a great day. So I have a question for you. The question that I have for you this week is, why are you acting like you don't already have the answer to the question and or questions that you've had? Ooh, we're gonna go there? Let's go there. I gotta give you the backstory because, of course, I've learned something and I value sharing the experiences that I've had, but the lessons that I value sharing with you. So over the past few years, you've probably watched and, just witnessed as I've continued to evolve and to grow. I was feeling really compelled to move in a direction at one point to have a more company feel with the business. And that's one of the things that really drove me to make the transition to putting the business at the forefront and doing and showing up as Dr. Eve. Like that's, the personal brand, which is actually Dr. Eve is a subsidiary of Evangeline Worldwide. So I've been doing it like behind the scenes, but I wanted for the business to have the company to be doing all the things, not just Dr. Eve. And a part of that, just to be really frank with you, is because there are times when Dr. Eve just needs rest. And I did not want to continue to really pursue just having this personal brand such that when I stop, the business stops. Whereas now, if I need to take a break, the business goes on because I don't have to always show up and be in the limelight and to do things. And that's really significant because a lot of people say, I want a personal brand, I want a personal brand. Well, we all in some degree have a personal brand. But when you only do, a few things that require you to be present, it can be very taxing. And so honestly, it was a matter of me, again, just evolving. So anywho, although, the Evangeline Worldwide thing came to be in a way that I'm like, hey, I'm putting her at the forefront, which I have been. And I can tell a difference in my business since I have been operating in this capacity. I love it. It was a great decision. And so one of the changes that I made, I was like, let me simplify. So simplifying was to also do my newsletter and have the newsletter just be everything. So rather than a few newsletters, just do one and put it all out there. I knew this was a great idea. I mean, it has still been a great idea because conceptually, to have people look at Evangeline Worldwide and realize it's the First Gen Shop, First Generation University, and the First Gen Lounge, right? And then like speaking programs, which since recently I have, tucked that up under First Generation University. We'll talk about that another day. But any hooser. Oh, I did that and was solid in my decision to do that. I have been saying for at least a year at the time of my recording this, I feel like I have several different businesses. And the truth is that I had not realized until a few months ago that I have actually outpaced myself. And what do I mean by outpace myself? That yes, at one point, functioning as a personal brand and just Dr. Eve and doing, the podcast and having a couple of courses here and just having a few things that made sense. But I have evolved that everything is really its own thing. And that's how I have had it set up, again, behind the scenes. But my question to myself has that been something that's been really clear to the audience, right? And even thinking about stuff like when you get to a website, which website are you going to? And anybody who's ever landed on EvangelineWorldwide.com, has been redirected to whatever that thing is, the podcast, the store, the school, right? Makes a lot of sense. But then again, I've kept having these feelings. I feel like I need to separate them again, but I don't want my audience to think this girl all over the place. And I don't, want to have this, oh my gosh, what are you doing? But the funny thing, in hindsight is that I'd already known, I knew that I probably should keep it separate, but I'm going to convince myself that simplicity is more important right now and put them all together and just make it work. Know that you know what I'm talking about. Sometimes we have those moments where we're just kind of I'm just going to do this anyway. So I did, and it is what it is. So in the spirit of that, I'm also committed to paying attention to what is and is not working in the business, right? I'm trying to think about, is this going over well? Are people understanding it? Do they get it? Because from the customers, are they confused? How do things work? And I noticed that since 2019, perhaps September of 2019, I have sent out a newsletter every single week. I mean, not missed a one since 2019. And also since 2019, up until the past few months, I've never seen as many people unsubscribe from the newsletter as I have recently, right? And then I got to thinking, oh boy, this is interesting. And I'm cool with people unsubscribing. I'm cool with people unfollowing and liking or whatever, right? Because I have this concept for me that when people unsubscribe, unfollow, whatever, they have been served, right? But I also recognize, and especially, for those who are in any kind of leadership position, be it that it's, an entrepreneur or on a team and people are being turned over, you have to pay attention to what's happening, what's going on, do the research to be able to know how to respond. So with that, I was like, maybe it's not working, to have the newsletter the way that it is, in spite of the fact that I did do the research then, and it seemed to be a thing that people were drawn to. Bet. And so I think one week it was 9 or 10 people that unsubscribed, and I was like, Lord, what is going on? But again, paying attention to that led me to say, what do I need to change? But the thing is, what did I just tell you? I'd already known that maybe I shouldn't put it together, but for simplicity, I'm going to put it together. And then I did it. And then I had that affirmation of, is it really affirming when people are unsubscribing? But I had the confirmation then that it should probably be different. And so, more recently decided to, again, go back to the drawing board to be able to talk to, people in the community and kind of realize that, what I thought way back when is exactly what some of those thoughts and feelings were as well. People see everything, the shop, the school, the lounge, as things that are different, although they understand it comes from one place. And although for me, again, on the back end, these things are set up as subsidiaries of Evangeline Worldwide. And so what did I do? You already know what I did. Did what I was supposed to do in the first place. Decided to bring myself back to a space where I'm working with the team to break everything back down such that, people who are just interested in the First Gen shop, they get that news. And if you're just interested in the First Gen lounge, they get that news. And even with the social media, to divvy it all up so it all has its own space. Is it more work? Hell yeah. It absolutely is. But is it important work? Yes, it is. And it's important because I know for a fact, right? I mean, without a shadow of a doubt, that serving is at the forefront of what we do around here. And it's important to serve and serve well. Now, yeah, there's absolutely going to be overlap in people who are, in multiple mailing lists and getting multiple social media contents. But of course, these things are inherently different, although they are all a part of the Evangeline Worldwide family. And let me tell you what I did there, though. I took it upon myself, and this was probably a year or so ago, so it's been on my mind, to study Procter & Gamble, Procter & Gamble, Nestle, Unilever, I think that's how you would say it, but studying them because they all are these parent companies with these multiple brands up under them, and I was very drawn to that model. And even thinking about Evangeline Worldwide, you don't hear that and think anything about first generation, nothing, right? And I knew this, but it was important for me to preserve my family's legacy that is in my grandma's name. And so having this in terms of a business, Hershey's, Mercedes, Johnson & Johnson, Kimberly-Clark, those brands, what are those? Last names. You got it. And so while mine's the first name, it's an incredibly unique first name. I mean, duh, we know this, right? And so that was some of the background or the why that I did that. So anyway, there was things that happened to, I'm like, all right, am I going to do this? Is this right? Because I started to get hesitant in spite of the fact that I had the answer. And I knew, I said way back when, of what I should have done, there was still this hesitancy, right? And sometimes we do that. We question ourselves and we feel like maybe I should, maybe I shouldn't. And we do that because it's like doubt creeps in. Sometimes there's a little bit of fear, or, hey, I've already made one change, and if I make another, how is this going to work out? But the thing is that, like my therapist told me the other day, girl, you got to trust yourself and you got to know that you know what you know. So to you, trust yourself and know that you know what you know and that you are capable of making very sound decisions. So this is what really got me though, because again, I was, I just hope I'm making the right decision. And Google, yes, Google, they decided some time ago, I mean, they've been sending the emails out that they were going to make this change. And this is one of those moments that was funny and it frustrated me, but it was like also and yes, you are making the right decision, but you already know this. So how they are doing their emails, and I have at this point now 5 different inboxes, right, for the different things that I'm doing. And I have like my personal email. So when people are emailing the general email box, like I can get into it, but that don't be me. So it'd be funny because people, hey, Eve, I'm like, I can see it, but typically that's my assistant who's taking care of that. So like it's created that way for a purpose. But okay, let me get away from that. And so they decided to make it such that how the emails are now set up is that you can't have different accounts and different plans. They have to be all on the same plans essentially. And even how like I had an account where I had additional storage on this account because again, it's my main account, which by the way, I'm just gonna say this now. This situation also taught me or is teaching me to relinquish control so that I can get to that. That's what's waiting for me to that bigger thing by letting go. Because I'm trying to hold on to everything and it was creating some conflict. But anyway, but I found myself in a space where, of course, I was getting frustrated and, I should be in the legacy plan. And they just like, well, no, we're just getting rid of this plan. Because I'm like, they said to reach out if you have any questions. So I'm just really confused, but also like, I had just added a few more inboxes. So I had almost doubled what I was already paying. And then they were doubling that on account of just one account having more storage. And then it hit me. Because I had the question in the middle of all this. I'm trying to figure this out. What am I supposed to do? Or is there any other thing? Or, just all kinds of stuff. And I'm a little frazzled too, because these deadlines are coming up and I'm doing all these other things. And then it hits me. Well, didn't you break down the business to function, in such a way that everything has its own pocket anyway? And my question was answered to myself, yes. And so why not take all of the data that you had sitting under your one little space and put it where it's supposed to go? And then that way you don't hit the threshold for each one of the accounts. And then you don't even have to change the plan that you're on, or essentially you can change it to the new plan, but it'll be the same one and you're not paying anymore. Oh, snap. Really? And just that realization alone is what had me like, and here in the middle of frustration, yet there was another answer, another confirmation that I was doing what I needed to be doing all along. And if I wasn't going to do it, even something as simple as a change to an email and the inboxes and how the plans are set up literally forced me to break it down. Literally, okay? So I'm saying all of that. I've said all of this. I've brought you through this journey. One, sharing with you the changes that have been made within the business. So again, the expectation that you get to tailor your experience with the content. And so excited that again, at the point of this recording, after over 5.5 years, the First Gen Lounge finally has its own website, its own space to exist and to do things that I'm like, oh my gosh, so many things I can do that you're going to be seeing coming down the pipeline. But even more importantly, the answer has always been there. The first tug that I felt when people start unsubscribing, and then here I am with this inbox issue, quote unquote, that wasn't really an issue, right? But I'm faced with these different things at different moments, all over a span of time that it was kind of like, and so you just think that you're not going to change this, but I had to pay attention. So are you paying attention to the things that are happening in your life that are telling you this is right or this ain't right, right? Are you listening to your inner voice? Are you giving credit to all the situations that you find yourself in where you're like, because sometimes we don't want to make decisions or do things on account of, I need it to be this way, or I need it to be another answer or another solution. But sometimes whatever it is just is what it is. And even with me, right? While it's business, I know that I'm not all over the place. I know that I'm very thoughtful and very intentional anytime I'm making decisions. And I know very well that the people who gonna rock. And the people who gonna roll, they gonna roll. Oh, that was a good one today. Yes, it was. And so even having said that, just to be in a space of comfort and to have clarity in both in happiness and excitement, because to have the business set up in a way that even moving forward, such that I'm leading with the company, I've seen some things happen from, again, just partnerships and grants and all kinds of things that like, this was the right decision. But even in frustration, people are, again, unsubscribing, or the fact that I'm having to have these different inboxes to make sure that these things are working in a way that is sufficient and efficient. Yeah, okay. But not just that, let me be very vulnerable just really quickly. Whenever I brought in assistants, realizing that when I'm trying to teach folks what to do, it's always kind of like, I don't even know what kind of game, like charades or something, right? It's a lot going on. And I started to realize, again, even over a year ago, this is too much for one person. And I'm going to need multiple people to oversee these different things. But I was being stubborn and just not wanting to do it because I got to make it work this way. But again, I have outgrown myself and the vision that I had. Your team has to reflect your dream. And I've gotten to that point and just having to, again, work in acceptance. But okay, so my points, I think you got the point. But just in case, I'm going to just go back to it or to them again and just remind you that you already have the answer. My love, you already have the answer or the answers. You know what to do. You know how you want to do it. But are you going to do it? Are you going to embrace what is before you? Are you going to challenge yourself to do said thing? Are you just going to lean in and just see what happens, right? Just see what happens. And a lot of times the knowing the answers, and sometimes we'll be saying, I'm not sure what I want to do. It's already hit us in a deep spiritual place. We've already felt it, right? Like, and it's this surety, but sometimes it's kind of like, I'm sure, but I don't know what to do with it. Do what you will, what you can with it. But just know that you know. Because what I know at this point in my existence, in my life, is that I do know what I know. But typically when I'm like, I don't know, it's because I'm not trusting myself. So you got this, okay? And I love you, and be good to yourself. And most importantly, what you gonna do? What you gonna do? What you gonna do? Tell me what you gonna do. Keep pressing forward. All right. Peace.